Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today we've got another maintenance update video. This time we're talking about painting the ship's hull. Again, we've talked about this a couple times, but we still get a lot of questions about it. We intentionally chose not to paint the above water part of the ship's hull in dry dock because it's almost always more expensive. In dry dock, you have to rent just being on the dry dock, whereas we own our pier here in Camden. Plus, you never pay to do anything in dry dock that you can do back at your pier. And obviously, as you can see, we're on a paint float right now. We can do this job tied up at our pier. Two, the ship was moved 2 more times after we got out of dry dock. So she had tugboats bumping her around. She was tied up at Paulsboro, which is a very different mooring system than we use here in Camden. So if we had to put a new coat of paint on there, that coat of paint was going to get scuffed up anyway. And then 3, the easiest way to paint the side of the ship nowadays is using a man lift like this one. We had a difficult time painting the side of the Battleship in dry dock below water because the dry dock was so narrow, there wasn't enough room to drive a man lift down the side of the ship. So we actually ended up suspending the painters from a gangway, almost like a window washer platform, with a bunch of them pressure washing and painting from the same platform, which meant we would have had to do that all the way up the side of the ship instead of just the below water part of the hull. Here, we can do it from the paint float with the man lifts relatively easily. So what's the scope of work for this project? We're doing the entire freeboard. I think I mathed that out as being around 57,000 square feet. So less than half of what the underwater hull was. Remember, we not only had to do the sides, we had to do the bottom as well, which had a lot of square area. Essentially, the coatings that are on there are in good shape. We don't see rusty metal showing through. We don't see paint flaking off the side of the ship. So we don't have to worry about like really heavy duty priming. However, the coating that's on there has broken down in the UV. It's gotten chalky. So if we try to paint a new system of coatings over there, it's not going to adhere really well. And as that chalky stuff rubs off, it's going to take the new coat with it. So the first thing we have to do is do a pressure wash. This isn't anywhere near the ultra high pressure wash we did in dry dock. It's a low pressure wash, and it's doing 2 things for us. It's going to blast off anything that's loose, like the chalk or any paint that's flaking off. And 2, it's going to abrade the coatings that are on there to leave enough profile that when we put a new coating on, it will adhere really well across the entire surface. So we're meeting the surface prep specifications of the system of coatings that we're using. Once we've pressure washed, if we find any areas where it's been taken down to bare metal, we might hit that with mechanical tools to remove any rust and feather the edges on the paint. And then if we've got anything that goes down the bare metal like that, we'll hit it with primer. The primer is what's actually protecting the metal here. The gray that you see on top is there for 2 reasons. 1, it is the pigment, it's making it the color we want it. And 2, it is the UV protection that keeps the primer, often epoxies that break down under UV, from breaking down under the sun. So the paint itself, the top coat, the color coat, is what's going to break down instead of the expensive primer underneath. So once we've got it spot primed where we need it, then we're going to come back and we're going to roll out the entire area with a top coat. We're going to do 2 coats on this just to add more material there. That'll keep it from breaking down further over time. And you can see that we started on the aft starboard quarter. We've worked our way around the stern of the ship, and now we're starting to work our way forward along the port side. Here you can see the 62 really well after pressure washing. You can see some of the black paint, the top coat for that number, has come off. So we're going to tape that over, paint it up. This is largely cosmetic. We're doing a cosmetic correction here because next year is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. And the year after that is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the country. All 3 of those events happened right here in the Philadelphia area. So we're expecting some pretty high visitation. The Navy's going to do a big Fleet Week here next year. And then the USA 250 ceremony is the year after. So we want the ship to look her best. We took her to dry dock, so she's in good material condition below the water. We painted the smokestacks a year ago. We've been working on redecking the ship for the last 5 years, and now we're painting the freeboard. So we are working to get the ship looking good by 2025. And this is just one more step. In theory, the ship wasn't deteriorating, it was just the paint that was starting to look ratty. But with all this increased visitation, now is a good time to knock out this project. For us, a system of coatings usually lasts about 10 years. We painted the ship when we first got her in 2000, before she opened as a museum. Obviously, after a couple decades in the mothball fleet, she was starting to look pink, so she got a nice new coating back then. We painted her about a decade ago. It was a little bit before I started working here. And so now we're painting her for another time. So this has all been as a museum. Stay tuned, we're going to update you as we continue working on this project. If we find anything else cool, we've already come up with an idea for another video on this project. Stay tuned, later in the week we'll put out another update video on that. And how are you going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the country? Are you going to come to the Philadelphia area? While you're here, are you going to see the Battleship New Jersey? Let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about us and the channel. Thanks for watching.